What's good, YouTube? It's your boy 2K the God. Welcome to the Gods of Boxing Talk. Now, for this segment, we want to talk about what's hot and what's hot right now. This shit right here is funny, yo. So, guess who came back from the dead? You know what I'm saying? And I ain't talking about that white boy from that movie, My Boyfriend's Back. For all you old heads, you know what I'm saying, who was like 20 years old in the 80s. Shout out to my man, Bo. You know what I'm saying? I ain't talking about that 80s flick. You know what I'm saying? RICARDO Mayorga actually fought last Saturday. I don't think a lot of people knew that, or they just didn't give a fuck. But he fought last Saturday. He won his fight, of course. And I'll tell you why in a little bit here. But he's come out into the media and said he's looking to fight another former champion that's been washed up for quite some time now, Antonio Margarito. Remember Antonio Margarito? He looks like that fucking emoji that has one eye closed, one eye open like this and shit, with his tongue sticking out, because he got that fucking eye that doesn't blink. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think he should be fighting because of that. But he's calling out Antonio Margarito at 160 pounds, right? But his manager has stated that Mayorga's next fight can actually be against Luis Ramon Campos, aka Yuri Boy Campos. Yes, I said Yuri Boy Campos. Now, this motherfucker been fighting so goddamn long. A lot of these young heads that follow my channel may not even know who the fuck he is, yo. And I don't understand why dude continues to fight. He's 46. He's about to turn 46 years old this year, right? Yuri Boy Campos. My man is 106 wins, 17 losses, 3 draws, and 81 knockouts. Now, that's a good record when we looking at, you know, how cats used to do shit back in the day. Motherfuckers got 222 wins and shit, you know, 25 losses. You know, those guys, a lot of those guys are considered, you know, some of the best fighters in boxing history. You know what I'm saying? The difference is it's a totally different era. Titles are easier to come by now than they were back then. You know, back then, a lot of those fighters, there was only one title per division. You know what I'm saying? A lot of cats were jumping divisions that didn't even win titles in divisions they were in prior, like Ezard Charles. You know what I'm saying? He jumped from middleweight all the way up to heavyweight, didn't become a champion until heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's why those guys have the records they do with maybe only one belt. But Campos comes in a era where there has been 4 fucking titles, and he's only managed to get 1 title out of what? Well, how many fights is that? Shit, what is that? 126 fights. He's had 1 title, 1 time, at 154 pounds. It was the IBF title, and that shit was 20 years ago. Stop fighting, motherfucker. Just like what I was saying about Juan Manuel Marquez in my last What's Hot segment, we don't need to see these guys in the ring anymore, man. I'm not trying to see motherfuckers walking around like this and shit because they fought too goddamn long. All right. Same goes for Mayorga. He's 43 years old. Yes, he fought last Saturday and won by knockout. You know what I'm saying? But his opponent was 12-17. You know what I'm saying? And get this. He was 12-17, but he lost 15 of his last 17 fights. I'll say it again. The opponent he knocked out last Saturday, he's 12-17. That's his overall record. But he lost his last 15 of 17 fights. And of those 17 fights, the only 2 fights he didn't lose were because there were no contests. Motherfucker hasn't won a fight since 2009. So I expect a former world champion, as washed up as Mayorga is, because we see how washed up he was when even an old ass washed up, you know, cottage cheese smelling motherfucker like Shane Mosley knocked him out. You know what I'm saying? And what, was it 8 rounds or some shit like that? knocked him out 2 years ago in their rematch, their grudge match. You know what I'm saying? And I still expect that guy to knock out a motherfucker that lost 15 of his last 17 fights. You know what I'm saying? So this is a complete joke. RICARDO MAYORGA needs to sit his ass down somewhere, fam. Motherfucker, you versus Yuri Boy Campus. That would be a fight where y'all motherfuckers will put up y'all social security checks. You know what I'm saying? Similar to what Chavez Jr. is doing with Canelo, where they putting up their purse. These two motherfuckers will put up their social security checks. You know what I'm saying? Get the fuck out of here. Nobody want to see that shit. But his main target is Antonio Margarito for whatever reason. That's who he's calling out. That's who he wants. He's even said, even though his last fight was at light heavyweight, he's willing to go down to 160 to fight Antonio Margarito, who's been campaigning at 154 with his last fight against Canelo Alvarez's older brother. He's willing to fight him at 160. So RICARDO Mayorga, you know, he beat Vernon Forrest. That was pretty much his claim to fame. Everybody after that tossed his ass up. You know what I'm saying? Showed him for what he really was a fighter with no technique, going there wild. I mean, the motherfucker didn't even care about his health. He's smoking cigars and cigarettes and shit while he's walking to the ring. Now, I will say, that shit was hot though. You know what I'm saying? He not taking you seriously to the point where the nigga is smoking a cigarette before he hop in the ring with you, dog. That's 100% disrespect. But even though his claim to fame is Vernon Forrest, the late great Vernon Forrest twice, and everybody else done whooped his ass after that. So he was a joke of a champion. There's no need to see RICARDO Mayorga at the age of 43 fighting an old ass Antonio Margarito with one motherfucking eye, and then an old ass Yuri Boy Campus who hasn't won a title in 20 fucking years. Next! Now, I was actually shocked. Shout out to my man Twan over on our podcast, The Movement. You know what I'm saying? He came with this information last night. He talks about how Mikkel Kessler is coming out of retirement. I've actually seen the articles now. I've seen the different accounts, takes from Mikkel Kessler saying that he hopes to come out of retirement to actually go after James DeGale at 168 pounds. Now, mind you, Mikkel Kessler's, I think he's 38 years old. He's turning 38 this year. Okay. He hopes to take on James DeGale. Now, he hasn't been active since 2013 when he lost to Carl Froch, which is ironic because as soon as he dropped this news, Carl Froch then comes out and says that he's contemplating a comeback in order to have a third fight with Mikkel Kessler. Now, Carl Froch has been inactive since 2014, since he beat George Groves. He knocked him out in their rematch, and he's 40. He turns 40, I think in July of this year. So this is some crazy news, and it goes back to what I said about Juan Manuel Marquez, man, and about fighters sticking around, you know, after they've already had a drop-off in their career, to the point where if they keep going, it's obvious that they cannot beat the top-level fighters in their given division. So unless, you know, it's for money, and even if it's for money, man, unless you're broke, you know, you need to go ahead and hang them up. Now, I will say, I'm not one to say that a fighter can't do this. I will say, hey, a fighter's old. You know what I'm saying? He looked old in his last fight, if he did look old. Or his age is telling me that he's old. But knowing the type of person I am and the shit that I do, and I'm not an old man, but by basketball standards, I'm an old man. And I still play ball like I'm a young man. A lot of motherfuckers think I'm younger than what I am when they see me play ball. So with that said, I can't tell Mikkel Kessler here in this video that, hey, bro, based on your age, you're too old. You can't fight James DeGale. I'm not gonna tell him that. But what I will say is, unless you've been active these last 4 years, you've been off. And I'm talking, you know, you've been in the motherfucking ring training. You've been in the gym training. You know what I'm saying? You've been doing, you know, you've got a training regimen going to where you do this, you know, certain times a week, certain amount of hours a day, to where you're still in boxing shape. Well then, yeah, go ahead and do what you got to do, fam. And if you come out, get about 2 fights, you got a chance at James DeGale. If you can look like the Mikkel Kessler that left boxing, because you left, you were still, pretty high level. You lost your rematch with Carl Froch, but you were still high level. You know what I'm saying? If you could come back being that Mikkel Kessler, you have an opportunity to beat James DeGale, or at least make the fight competitive. And shout out to my man Kelly Pavlik. If y'all haven't seen our interview with Kelly Pavlik, go check it out. Very good interview. He's a guy that will admit that he ain't been doing shit since he retired. He said he's gained an enormous amount of pounds. I think he said he was like 230, 235. My man's just been eating, just been chilling, enjoying life. If that's what Mikkel Kessler has been doing, he's been Kelly Pavliking, while he's been semi-retired, then I say don't come back. And if you do come back, fam, you need to be looking at fighting at 175 because you were already a big-ass 168 pounder. So you might need to be trying to get at 175, maybe motherfucking cruiserweight or something, because it's going to be hard for you to drop that weight and still be high level when you've been inactive for so fucking long. So really what I'm saying about Mikkel Kessler's comeback is training is key. I'm going to try to get a hold of him, see if I can actually get an interview with him or get his take on what he has actually been doing. There are articles out there stating that Kessler has been training these last 4 years, but they're articles. I want to hear it from Kessler's mouth. I want to hear him say, yeah, I've been training, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, and I'm ready, to take on the top quality fighters in the division, and I can actually make 168 at my age. Meanwhile, Carl Froch, he says he's been training. He showed us pictures and shit, but those pictures are more so of a bodybuilder, a guy who's been lifting weights, in my opinion, and take it from me, a guy who lifts weights all the time. He looks more of a guy that's doing that than actually doing some boxing training. He's got more mass on him. He's got more muscle and mass on him than he looks lean and thin in boxing shape. So, but nevertheless, I can't say Carl Froch ain't been doing shit neither. So, if he comes out of retirement for this fight, I'm not really looking forward to that kind of fight. There's other fights at 168 that I want to see. I want to see Callum Smith get out there. He's supposed to be fighting Anthony Durrell for the IBF title, Eliminator James DeGale's title. That's going to be an excellent fight. I want to see other guys get out there in that division. So I'm not really keen on seeing an old-ass Carl Froch and an aging Mikkel Kessler come out of retirement to have a third fight. But if those guys are at 100% when they meet each other for a third time, if they do, then hey, shit, I'm all for it. Next! And this is going to be the last of this segment. Now, this right here is good for boxing. You've got 2 high-level fighters, Vasyl Lomachenko and Mikey Garcia, going at it. Now, Mikey Garcia fights at 135 pounds. Vasyl Lomachenko fights at 130. Basically, what pretty much happened here is, Mikey Garcia came out in an interview and said, yo, this cat, Vasyl Lomachenko, he's overrated than a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's a little bit of Mikey Garcia being a little sour at the fact that he was treated so badly at Top Rank, even though he was a high-level fighter. I mean, let's face it, Mikey Garcia rose from being a highly touted prospect to being a very well-respected contender to being one of the best champions recently in the sport of boxing, right, before his layoff. One of the more dominant guys. A lot of people were saying his name synonymously with Mayweather. They were calling him the Mexican Mayweather, right? While I highly disagree with that, he's still a very high-level fighter with high-level technique, right? And he did all of that under the Top-ranked banner, and he still, to his opinion, was not respected in the manner in which he felt he deserved to be respected by Bob Arum, and I totally agree with him. You know what I'm saying? But then you see this kid Lomachenko in under 10 fights with, I may add, a loss on his record in under 10 fights, is highly touted from the gate, highly respected from the gate, and treated as if he was a high-level fighter from the gate. And it all stemmed from his amateur pedigree. Now, while I do agree that fighters with a high-level amateur pedigree, they should be treated with some type of respect coming into the professional ranks. But I feel what Mikey Garcia is saying about Lomachenko. And don't get it twisted. I like Lomachenko. Very, very good fighter. Very athletic. Very technical. But I agree with how he's being pushed from Mikey Garcia's standpoint. It's a little bit of overhype. And I'm going to do a video on this comparing these two guys. As soon as he beat Roman Martinez and captured his second title in 2 weight classes in under 10 fights, it seemed as if everybody forgot about Naoya Inoue. And if you don't know who he is, I got a video out on him. And then, like I said, I'm getting ready to make a video comparing these two guys and their resumes. Naoya Inoue did it before Lomachenko did it. Captured 2 belts in 2 weight classes and 10 fights or less, right? And actually, his level of competition was better than Lomachenko's. And I'll get all into that when I break that video down between these two guys. But my point is, Lomachenko is highly praised for what he's done, but Naoya Inoue has done it before him, and he did it 2 years prior before fucking Lomachenko did. So I like the fact that Garcia is going at him. Lomachenko responded back by saying, you know, well, he talks about Roman Garcia, he talks about Orlando Salido, but, you know, Mikey Garcia got lucky in the Orlando Salido fight by breaking his nose, because if he wouldn't have done that, Salido was actually coming on and he probably would have took him out. I agree that Salido was coming on a little bit, but Mikey was thoroughly dominating that fight. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Salido would have won that fight regardless. He also stated about Roman Martinez, yeah, you beat him. You knocked him out in the 8th round. I knocked him out in the 5th. We can compare that. I'm not one to compare that because those two fought Roman Martinez at 2 different points in his career. So I'm not going to compare the 2 fights between these 2 fighters. Plus, it's 2 different styles on top of that. So there's no direct comparison there. But I do agree with Lomachenko. Shit, if you talking all that shit, well, then we could just meet in the ring. Mikey Garcia fires back by saying, well, shit, if he decides to go up to 135, then I have no problem fighting him. It would certainly be an attractive fight, which people would want to see. If he makes the jump from 130 to 135, I will be there waiting. If that fucking fight gets made, that's an excellent fight for boxing. Mikey Garcia's got some lucrative opportunities at 140. And possibly going to 147. He said he has said that he wanted to go to 147 at one point in time. He already said he feels that the guys at 135 will duck him. Guys like Robert Easter Jr. They're talking about a Jorge Linares fight, but he feels that Linares won't fight him. You know, other guys, top level guys like Terry Flanagan, Richard Comey, etc., etc. He feels like they will duck him. And I think that what Mikey Garcia did to Dejan's Latikanen, that is going to be in the back of all these motherfuckers' minds at 135. I don't think that he'll be ducked, but I believe that motherfuckers will be cautious before they actually step in the ring with a guy as vicious as Mikey Garcia. So with that said, he's already voiced possibly going up to 140 and trying to take on Terrence Crawford and at a later date. But he did say, I'll put those opportunities on hold if Vasyl is willing to come up to 135. And Vasyl said he would go to 135. So really, the ball's in Top Rank's court. What we gonna do? All right, YouTube. Do what you do in the comments section. Will be real. Let me know what you think about these topics I covered in this segment. This is Real Talk for real fans. 1.